Bend It Like Beckham, Bride and Prejudice. Today I'm chatting with someone who's given us some of the most iconic South Asian stories on screen. And now she's bringing us a desi twist on Dickens with Christmas Karma. Please welcome the brilliant, the hilarious and the forever trailblazing Gurinder Chadha.
Thank you very much.
Okay, my first question. What made you want to adapt A Christmas Carol through a British Indian lens?
Christmas is a big deal for us, right? Living in England. Ever since I was a small child, we used to write letters to Santa saying we want this and that, My father would put whiskey out for Santa. My mum would say, Chalo, do char pakode bhi rakh do. And we'd go, Mum, Santa doesn't eat Indian food. And and in the morning we'd come down and Santa will have drunk the whiskey and the reindeers ate the carrots. And obviously my dad did all of this, but we'd be going, oh my God, Santa's going to be drunk. And then we'd all go in the kitchen and we'd all prepare the vegetables. And my dad would always want to roast something or the other. And we always had this beautiful Christmas tradition like everyone else. We had a Christmas tree with lights on. As for us, that's such a magical thing as a little girl to have that in your house. And then we watched the Queen's speech. Everyone would come together and eat and drink. So Christmas is a very memorable time for us. But also growing up in Southall, in my street, I had a lot of English friends, Irish friends, and every Sunday they used to go to Sunday school with the local church. And my mum said, Chal, tu bhi ja, because Rab bade, ruah mein chanda hai. To ja kuch bhakti kar, instead of just playing in the street. So I used to go to church and I used to love singing hymns and she's right, churches, gurdwaras, mandirs, masjids, they're all great places where you can just look inwards and at yourself. And so I've grown up with the tradition of carols.
In my research, it also came up that you went to Charles Dickens' house. What was that like?
I said, let me go and get some inspiration. I went to Charles Dickens' house. I walked around, I sat there, and like a typical Indian, I asked permission. I said, Charles, if you were here and you were me today, what story would you tell? And interestingly, Charles Dickens' novel is about the extreme poverty in Britain at the time and the extreme wealth. And his book, the reason he wrote A Christmas Carol was to try and find some goodness in humanity, to try and find how we could ease the pain and suffering of some people in order to, be fulfilled and happy individuals. Now, what Charles Dickens didn't know is that this Guru Nanak Dev Ji had already talked about this. And being a Sikh, for me, it became very clear that really what the Charles Dickens book is about is Ek Onkar. We are all connected, rich or poor, doesn't matter.
Now, you're known for your desi nuances. You have to tell me, what's the most desi thing you've done during the Christmas?
Desi, oh my God. No, not desi. The most desi thing at Christmas is the amount of chilies that go into our stuffing and the amount of lasan and adrak that goes all over our chickens. And then our Brussels sprouts, pikke, normally, but we smother them with lal mircha and garlic. And sometimes even my mum used to do jeera wala tadka on the vegetables. And so this constant push and pull of, do you have a traditional Indian lunch or do you desify it? So as kids, we were like, Mom, why are you putting spices in the food? And now, ਅਸੀਂ ਖੁਦ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਅਸੀਂ ਖੁਦ ਬਣਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਇਹਦਾ. So yeah, the most desi thing is how we have taken the meal and made it our own.
But Gurinder, you have to agree, Priyanka Chopra singing Last Christmas in Hindi actually broke the internet. It was quite a unique twist. How did that idea come to you and what was her reaction when you pitched that to her?
George Michael was a big fan of Bend It Like Beckham. He loved the film and he had invited me for tea. And I reference him in the film as well, you know. And so I was meeting recently with the George Michael estate about something else. And they said, "Oh, you're doing a Christmas film." I said, "Yes." They said, "Well, why don't you use Last Christmas?" And I was like, I don't know, I'm doing original songs. And they said, "Why don't you do a Hindi version? Do a Bollywood version. George Michael would love it." And I said, "God, that's an interesting idea." I always like to do the Tamasha song at the end of my films, right? Like hot, hot, hot. So I started thinking maybe I could do that. So then I said, "I'll call my friend Priyanka." They said, "We love her. Please do. We think this is a great idea." So then I called Priyanka, and she's been a long, long friend of mine, very loyal supporter of not just me, everybody who's working, you know, NRIs, as you call it, but everybody working out in the diaspora. She's always there and always a big supporter. So I called her. She said, "Are you mad? Are you crazy? I'm not a singer. I gave up that life ages ago." I said, "Chal yaar, maza aayega. It's just a fun thing. Let's do it." And something in her was like, "You know what? This looks like a lot of fun. Chalo." So she came and we were having a laugh. She said, "You know, I'm not a singer." I said, "You know what? You sound amazing. Let's do it." And so we did it. And then I asked Anushka Shankar to come in, who's also a friend. Anushka said, "Are you crazy? I sell out the Royal Albert Hall. What am I going to do on this?" But because it's you, Gurinder. So she came, she played the sitar, you know, beautifully with PC singing and with Nitin Soni. And then we ended up with this lovely version that the George Michael estate think is lovely. And they thought George Michael would absolutely love it. So we had his blessing. And for me, it's just a wonderful coming together to show you how people can support you, you know, but also that we create new classics and new feel-good moments for us.
And then we see Malkeet Singh also grooving in the trailer. Tell us about that.
For me, it was really important to have a Christmas Bhangra song because we don't have that. We don't have our own song. And so I wrote this song, Christmas Nu Manavange, and I called in Jassi Sidhu, who's also there, and Malkeet Singh. And Malkeet had done a song in Bend It Like Beckham, which I used, Jind Mai. And that song is like viral on Insta and TikTok. And everybody uses that song when they come to India from abroad or, you know, the Jind Mai song. And it's so lovely the way that song has just taken off. So I said to Malkeet, I said, "Chalo, oh gana ga lo sade vaste." He said, "Nahi, oh bahut purana hai, oh bahut purana hai. Assi nawa gana likhange." So then he wrote a Christmas song, a Christmas version of Jind Mai for, you know, a new version. And so that's in the film. And what is beautiful, let me tell you, is in England, in a lot of the Indian areas where people are seeing the film, when he comes on, everyone cheers and claps. You know, like I wish I had that when I was growing up. You know, it's such a lovely feeling because he's one of our own, right? And so it's a very Punjabi feel-good kind of experience, but it also doesn't shy away from the politics of us being, you know, from the diaspora.
Okay, Gurinder, now you also balance humor and social commentary so effortlessly in your movies. It's a rare skill. How do you have it?
I think, firstly, you know, everything comes from my own experience or people that I know. You know, Bend It was my own experience growing up. Those were my parents, you know. Sadly, now, 23 years later, you know, when I wrote the film, I was Jess Bumrah. Now I've become the mother to my children. I'm like, so I'm like the mom now to my kids. But I think that the amazing thing for me is I embody everything. I embody the struggles of my parents, my grandparents, as well as I want to celebrate our achievements. My grandparents are from Jhelum and Rawalpindi. I don't have a homeland in India. My homeland is now Pakistan, right? So, but they came as refugees to India, and then my other grandparents went to Kenya, and my parents were born in East Africa. They then came to England. I was raised in England, and so all these lives have struggle and success. And so for me, that those two come side by side. So I think with every film I make, I'm always trying to honor the struggle of my forefathers, but at the same time trying to celebrate our achievements. And so it is my unique upbringing that allows me to kind of do both.
Gurinder, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਹੋ. Do you get that a lot?
In India, it's wonderful to have all the love, but then ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੀ ਆ ਲੋਕੀ ਹੈਰਾਨ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਜੇ ਲਾਈਕ ਤੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਬੋਲਦੀ ਆ ਇਹਦਾ and I'm like ਮੇਰੀ ਬੇਜੀ ਆਈ ਸੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਛੋਟੀ ਸੀ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਹਿੰਦੀ ਸੀ ਤਾਂ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ and ਉਹ ਬੜੀ ਪਟਵਾਰੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਸੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮਿੰਨਾ ਬੁਲਾਉਂਦੇ ਸੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਕੀ ਕਰਨੇ ਪਿਓ ਮਿੰਨਾ and I would initially talk in English and then I had to learn and then Beji was very traditional and I would say to my dad, you have to lift your plate and take it to the kitchen like everyone else. I don't have to do the washing up all the time. And my Beji would say, Minna, marda kolo kam nahi karwaida. Nahi, Minna. And I would say, Beji, I'm a feminist. She'd go, okay on that. Like, so even at that age, my Beji was trying to sort of make me something I'm not. And even in Bend It, the mother is obsessed that Jess Mama learns how to cook proper Indian food, just like my mother. She was obsessed that I should know how to cook. And to this day, I don't make chapatis because I was being forced to go in the kitchen and make chapatis while the men sat outside and ate them hot. And I refused. And to this day, I buy ready-made chapatis. I never make them.
And now in the end, we have a special segment. It's called the Merry Minute. These are rapid fire questions, if you want to call that. A Punjabi Christmas food you would invent.
Christmas kebabs.
One Bollywood actor you'd cast as Santa.
Sanjay Dutt. So cuddly. What a lovely, warm Santa he would make.
One Hindi song you think captures Christmas feels.
Last Christmas by Priyanka Chopra.
The most desi Christmas gift someone could give.
Well, the most desi gift, and I referenced it in my film, is Ferrero Rocher chocolates. Because in England now, instead of giving laddus and everything, people give Ferrero Rocher. It's a big desi thing. And even Malkeet Singh comes as Santa in my film with a bag full of Ferrero Rocher. So if you're Indian, you get that joke.
3 Punjabi words to describe Christmas karma.
Hamdardi. Hamdardi, hamdardi. This is the most important word that I learned from my parents. They embodied this. They've given it to me. Compassion, empathy, humbleness. These are the most important tributes, I think, that any human can have. And for me, this is a film that absolutely encaptures that concept of hamdardi.
Lastly, if Santa visited South Hall, what would he say first?
He'd say, oh, bale, bale, bale. There's so much fun and enjoyment here. This is where I belong.
Well, thank you very much. That brings us to the end of this conversation. Thanks a lot, Gurinder Chadha, for talking to us on NDTV. This is Arun Singh signing off.